Hello, you are currently listening to WRUW-FM 91.1 Cleveland. Listening to a different drum, I am your host, Matt Hook, where the more you love music, the more music you love. I have a very special guest with me today, Kevin Blake Goodwin. Thanks for joining me today. Kevin Blake Goodwin is a solo acoustic guitarist and the founder and CEO of Fret Monkey Records, one of the best acoustic guitar labels out there right now. He's also was the 2015 winner of the acoustic guitar tournament in Canada. That is a very prestigious tournament that features the best an acoustic guitar has to offer. So we're going to start off by playing his song Alpha. Alright, again, that was Kevin Blake Godwin's song Alpha, and joining us today is Kevin Blake Godwin himself. So would you mind describing the compositional process for that song in particular?
Absolutely. The composition behind that song has a lot of events leading up to writing that song. I went out and studied with a bunch of master guitar players that were proficient in fingerstyle and also into progressive rock music. And after visiting these camps and meeting a lot of friends and other musicians, I learned from their techniques and their writing skills, which honed that song, which is off my first EP titled Alpha. That song was definitely everything that I've learned from those masters and all those guys, and it was my first way to bring it all together into one song, and it was probably at the time my favorite song that I've written in the fingerstyle context, because everything previously before that was just a guessing game, because I'd never really had any friends that played fingerstyle or anything like that, so it definitely helped me surrounding myself with all those talented musicians that are proficiently skilled in that genre of music.
I know they say you are who you hang out with. So
that's right.
That song I know especially is very percussive. You're definitely using the guitar almost like a drum as well as a melodic and a harmonic instrument. So was that coming from guys like Michael Hedges?
Um, the Michael Hedges has influenced a lot of my friends, which in return has influenced me. I am not the biggest fan of Michael Hedges. Like, it's not that I really don't like his music. I just haven't really dove into it too much. I have influence pertaining from mainly progressive rock bands, but that was so I'm previously a drummer as well, and so with that song right there, it was the first song that I was able to really just let loose with a drummer mindset, and then I practiced really hard with the harmonic style of music that players like Travis Bowman, Adrian Belew, Antoine Defer, those guys, they're ripping harmonics, and I wanted to take it to the next level and basically create a whole song that's real rhythmic, but the whole melody is led by harmonics, which in return, what's so neat about that song is that there's a really hard harmonic part in there. It's called double harmonics, where you combine two harmonics with your right hand, and you also can alternate with those. So that I kind of feel like learning from several different musicians that I kind of developed my own take at a harmonic spin with rhythmic assets to it, and which I wrote a whole song using that and utilized it to the best I could.
You mentioned most of your earlier influences were mainly progressive rock bands. So were they the groups that inspired you to play guitar in the first place?
Absolutely. I mean, at a younger age, my particularly my dad was really big into rock and metal. Growing up, I mean, as just a itty bitty kid, and then my mom was big into R&B and pop. So I had a really good mix of music that just kind of shaped me from an earlier age. Everything from Metallica when I was a kid, and then leading up to bands like Animals as Leaders and thus forth, Dream Theater and stuff like that, which had a big positive impact, mainly from a drummer's aspect, though, because I was really big into drums growing up, and that was the how to challenge yourself rhythmically. You have to listen to things that are outside the box, including like jazz as well. But as you know, when you're growing up, it's always hard to find a place that you can set up your kit and jam. So guitar also became a passion of mine as well.
So it's mainly when you're talking about prog, you're talking really about the more prog metal groups like Dream Theater, Animals as Leaders, and less so like the more 70s prog rock like the King Crimson and like early Genesis style.
Um, you know, really, if not so much of that stuff. I mean, definitely Al Di Meola with the like the gypsy style jazz prog was like an influence of mine, but uh, pretty much modern new age prog. Definitely into the heavy metal scene as well, where a lot of my roots are stationed at as well.
And how did you come up with the idea of blending that into acoustic guitar? Because a lot of times people think that acoustic guitarists aren't usually influenced by music such as metal, which is often very distortion heavy.
Right. So that's the funnest and challenging part about what I'm trying to write, especially in my new album coming out. Is it's basically making prog and heavy metal into acoustic guitar, and that consists of using, really different type of minor tunings and being very rhythmic heavy, which in return uses a lot of polyrhythms, that combine percussive parts and maybe bass lines with your left hand at the same time, maybe throwing harmonics and having a really big sound that sounds, it's something that sounds really heavy, but it's just on one guitar and there's no distortion. It's basically comping using jazz chords, but in a minor way that lead to somewhat of a rock, metal sound, which is a very difficult task. But I feel like I'm getting close to honing that as my signature style.
That's interesting because I know other acoustic guitarists do use polyrhythms, like Don Ross, for example, uses polyrhythms a lot in his music, but he uses them more to get an R&B feel, while you're going
Right.
for a more metal hard rock feel. So
Right.
I was wondering, the event that really like jump-started your career was your win at the 2015 Canadian Guitar Festival when you got first place. Can you describe what that was like?
Oh man, that was one of the most incredible moments of my life. I went to that guitar competition, merely on a hope, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to compete in the competition. I signed up as an alternate. I was late, and when I found out about the competition, it was months past the deadline for sign up. So, like I said, I was an alternate, and I figured it would be fun to go there. It's a festival regardless of the competition, so I get to watch amazing players like Antoine and Don Ross and all those guys. But when I went there and the day of the competition, a guy didn't show up, and they had a ton of people on the alternate list. And I think they went through 12 that did not show up, and I was the next one on the list, and so I got to compete. It was the most nerve-wracking experience in my life because, I have to sit there and watch 25 of the best guitar players that came across all over the world, and sit there and watch them. And I knew I had to play. I played late. I played, I think, number 19th, and it was so nerve-wracking having to watch all these guys. But when I made it to the finals, that was an even crazier experience for me because a lot of those guys in the finals I just watched previously on YouTube like the week before because I was trying to see who would be there, and I didn't know any of these guys really, but those guys that were in the final I watched on YouTube, so I knew how good they were. And I didn't, I couldn't believe I made it to the finals. I was actually talking to my dad at the time, and they called my name, and he had to tap me. He's like, "Hey, they called you up there." I was like, "Oh, wow." But anyways, when I won it, it was the most rewarding feeling because I spent months practicing for this competition, prior to it, sitting in a room, having people critique me, and it just seemed like the stars aligned for a moment in my life, and that was a great feeling.
How did you prepare for the Canadian Guitar Festival?
So, me and my family sat down one day, and we decided basically, not just for the Canadian Guitar Festival, but for many other guitar festivals, we were trying to find out the best route to figure out how to make somewhat of a career out of playing guitar. And we looked up a lot of the previous guys like Andy McKee, Antoine Defer, all these master guitar players. What did they do to get successful? And we noticed a pattern of certain guitar festivals and competitions they entered. So we sat down and made a list, and I entered 4 that year, I believe. And so, we had, I think, 2 to 3 months before the first one started. And basically my family, they gave me an opportunity to not have to work. So I sat in a room every single day composing and challenging myself to write the hardest things I've ever written in my life. And I practiced every single day. It was mentally exhausting. It was fun at some points. We had, the up and down roller coaster of taking criticism because it's hard to be an artist and hear criticism at times. But definitely, it was just nonstop practice. I've never practiced. I was probably the best guitar player I've ever been in my life during those months because I just knew my material in and out. And the thing I wanted to make sure was if nerves hit, that I knew that stuff so well that it wouldn't even matter. And that was probably the biggest reward that paid off because I was so nervous, but I knew that material,
Just the constant repetition of it really.
That's right.
So I know now you're actually the head of your own label. Can you describe what inspired you to found your own label and how you kind of discovered all these other artists that are on Fret Monkey Records?
Sure. The big thing about Fret Monkey Records was a lot of the guys that I met after the Canadian Guitar Festival, after I won, I became friends with these guys, and a lot of the same question had hit our minds is, what do we do next? Like we can become established guitar players, but in the way things are leading in the music industry is definitely through social media reach, right? And there's not many social outlets for fingerstyle guitar other than another record label out there.
Candy Rat.
But yeah, Candy Rat Records. And if you're not able to get chose, to be on their artist roster, you're stuck and have to do it yourself. So I banded together with quite a few guys after meeting at a conference at NAMM in Anaheim, California, which is a national music trade show. And we talked and we're like, man, we need to do something together. And after that little conversation, it just really kept hitting my head. And I talked to my family, and thus far, Fret Monkey pretty much was birthed from that idea. And it was incredible because I didn't know if those guys would really take it serious. The only notoriety I had to my name was obviously that competition, and through that, these guys trusted me, and once I got about 5 or 6 guys on the label, it just started expanding because they trusted those guys, and next thing I know, we have 22, I think it was 22 artists to begin with. I'm not really sure.
You have you got 23 artists, and also probably even more surprisingly, it's from 10 different countries. So it's not just
Right.
like the United States and Canada. How did
Right.
you?
Yeah, 23 guitar players. That's right, because we added one. I remember that. Yep, at the very end of it.
So-
All over. Oh yeah, across the whole globe, and that's really from meeting the guys at NAMM, they know other guitar players, and like I said, that trust, because they trusted in what they're doing was going to be awesome. And next thing I know, there's 23 guys, and it was blowing my mind. It's like, okay, well, here we are. Let's make this thing happen.
So, I'm gonna play a song by one of your Fret Monkey label mates, Travis Bowman. This song is actually on harp guitar, and if you don't know what a harp guitar is, it's an instrument that's based off the guitar. It's a guitar, but then it has these sub bass strings to create even lower resonancies. It was first made popular by Michael Hudges. Is now seeing a rebirth with Adrian Belew and Travis Bowman, who are both on Fret Monkey Records, using it extensively, as well as guys like Andy McKee and Don Rossi using and composing for it. So this next song is again by Travis Bowman. Hello again. That song was Relaxation Station by Travis Bowman. You are currently listening to WRUWFM 91.1 Cleveland. And I am joined today by Kevin Godwin. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so that song in particular, I really love the music video for that, and I think that's one of the coolest things that Fret Monkey Records does is that you guys really make great high quality videos, especially for an indie label that's not just a guy playing guitar in a studio. You definitely go very cool with the landscaping. Would you mind describing how you guys create such great videos?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that we make great videos because it all started off just tinkering around. The first video I made was that Alpha video, which is the first song you guys played. Travis and I went out to the mountains and shot that, and it was just we shot as much footage as we could because we just had no clue what it was going to look like, and it was my first time editing any video. And we just sat there until we made sure we had it right. And I think me and him both have a really good eye, along with Alicia at Fret Monkey, who's my greatest critic, but my biggest asset. And with that being said, the more we started doing these videos, the better we got at it. And until we started just storyboarding from there and making really good scene and music and everything to go together that created just a whole experience within the video. That one with Travis, Relaxation Station, we had a vision of being out in the ocean, and I called up some friends and I said, where is, you guys know this song, where is the place to shoot that? And took us to, I can't remember the actual location of it, but it was so beautiful when we were out there. And we waited till the magic hour happened, which is like 6 p.m. there or something like that. And it was fantastic. We came out with some great video footage, and it just kind of naturally edits itself in a sense. The same thing with another video we shot out in the Mojave Desert. We took a drone. It was one of our first experiences with a drone with a 4K camera, and we went out to, we didn't really have a location. We just know we wanted to be in the desert. We saw some sand dunes out there, and I think just some magic happens. And I really have to give thanks really to the team, the Fret Monkey artist, and the people behind the scenes here at Fret Monkey, because we all have to rely on each other with a second pair of eyes to make these videos happen. It's definitely become one of my main passions now is video editing, and I was just recently in California shooting another video out in Malibu, and I just noticed it's something that feels really right to do. I mean, it's putting imagery to the music, and that is something that any musician, normally something comes to their head when they're writing something. So it's a honor to be able to do that.
Especially with instrumental music, where oftentimes you do compose based on an image or a scenery. It's very nice to have a video that kind of reflects that original scene that you were imagining. So, I know you've persevered through a lot of hardship in your life, such as your struggles with drug addiction as well as a near-death experience. Can you describe how those events impacted your music and your life in general?
Absolutely. A lot of the, I guess a lot of the hardships I've had to go through in my life has really honed in just a grateful attitude to have to be able to do this for a living, because I've definitely gone through the ringer in my life to the extent where I burned so many bridges in my life that I never thought I could ever pick myself up, and that rock bottom kept getting deeper. I kept digging for it, and that's something I didn't know that could happen. But I'm fortunate to have family and a lot of loved ones that, even through multiple times of going through some heartache and hardships, that they still supported me. But I think a big learning aspect came into play this last time that I had to go through rehabilitation for alcoholism and addiction. Was a big eye-opener for me, because I lost my best friend growing up, my childhood friend, from alcoholism while I was in treatment. And, at this time, My ex-wife was getting remarried, and there's a lot of things to accept. That I wasn't going to be the full-time dad that I wanted to be to my son. I didn't have a guitar to my name, things like that. And it was like, all right, I'm already here at the bottom of everything. I've lost all my friends. There's nothing I can do but go up if I'll just give it a shot. So I surrendered any thinking and any mentality that I have to the rehabilitation place, and I just said, just guide me with my life, guys. And I really gave them all of me, and it was the best decision I've ever made. I did everything they said to do. I went and lived in a sober living home, and I was fortunate enough to have people give me, it was a cheap acoustic guitar, but it was something to have, and it really started my solo career. I mean, I wasn't aiming for a career, but I was just, it was the beginning of everything for me to start playing acoustic guitar in general. But I worked, did a whole year of manual labor, worked 6 days a week and things like that, and just tried to maintain sober and try to grow, for myself spiritually and mentally and everything and physically. When I finally hit my first year sober, I got in contact with my family. It was the first time I really spoken in over a year, and we kind of discussed, that they all understood that this is something that I wanted to do, and I really had to, really had proven to them that I was serious about, staying sober and doing things like that. And they gave me an opportunity. Like I said, they let me come home, and I spent months in that room preparing for competitions. And it just shows if you do the right thing and put the hard work in, that it can pay off. And I always think about those things, about all the people that did for me and all the hard work that I had to put in. It was the first time I ever felt proud for myself, because I really, really gave it my all, 100%. So it's been a rewarding thing, because now that I've come into the position that I have in my life, I have musicians and just people in general, just they read my story and they come out and talk to me, and they said I give them hope and inspiration. But it was the same thing when I was in their place, that I looked up to other people that did the same thing for me. So I just I have to pay it forward, because I know how that feeling is.
Yeah, I know you definitely do a lot of advocacy for people who are suffering from drug and alcohol addiction. Could you describe that a little bit? And could you also tell our listeners what they can do to help people?
Absolutely. So, like I advocate for people to get to be open and honest, and to reach out, to actually, just to let it go, to reach out. I think that's one big thing that I've had with friends. When I moved back home, I was one of the first friends out of the group of people I hung out and grew up with that actually got sober, and it's been awesome. I've had two longtime best friends got sober because of that. They saw what I went through, and that if I can do it, obviously they can do it, and they have, and that's been a fantastic thing. And I've seen them slip, and I've seen them get back up again, though, and that was incredible to watch as well. With that being said, I get hit up all the time on the social media, and people asking me, like, can they really play music sober? And that was a big thing for a lot of musicians, because it seems to be that any alcohol or addiction leads hand in hand with music for some reason, and that was definitely my case. So to give them hope that yes, you can play sober, that it just takes time. It takes time to live each day and to train your brain again to be a normal person, I guess, if that's the case. But I encourage anybody that if you're going through any of these addiction things, or alcoholism, just definitely reach out to anybody that you're close with, and just be honest about what's going on in your life. And that was a big thing for me. I had to reach out to my family. I'm like, look, I'm tired, I'm broken, I need to do something. And there is treatment centers out there that will take you. And the only thing that will stop you is you. If you're desperate to change your life, it all comes down to you. Nobody can walk for you. And that was the big thing I've had to learn, is that I had to use my own 2 feet And that's really what it comes down to. Is just are you willing and ready, and are you accepting that you're broken and that you can walk and ask for help and be willing to be helped.
So the thing you said earlier about addiction being hand in hand with music, because it also seems to go the other way. Like, it sounds like in your case, for example, the acoustic guitar helped lift you out of that hole because it gave you something to hope for in a way. And I know one of my friends who is also a musician, actually, like, guitar playing and music in general helped lift him out of homelessness. So it seems like, excuse me, but it seems like as much as music can lead you into that, it can also bring you back out.
That is correct. Absolutely. It all just depends on your, I don't know if it's willpower or whatever, but, what you decide to do each day. It's a day by day thing. And I definitely know music helped me in my recovery. It was something that it kept my mind off of other things, and kept it, I guess, proactive and positive. It was definitely like relearning a whole different instrument for me, really. So I guess it goes both ways. Absolutely.
So thank you again so much for coming on the show and being so open about this, because I'm sure this will help a lot of people. So if people want to check out your music, where can they go?
Yes, they can go to www.kevinblakegoodwin.com or Fret Monkey Records. I am all across the board on all the social medias and iTunes as well, Google Play, and just look up Kevin Blake Goodwin. And you can find, like I said, I have a new album coming out soon, but my EP is available right now. So thank you so much for having me on here.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
Alrighty.